Hey friends, it's Alysa Rushton here, Energy Intuitive with your October 2021 Energy Update. And in this update, we're going to talk about the 5 energy themes this month that you can work with to really upshift your experience in the world and upshift the timeline that you're currently on. So let's dive into these energies, and then as always, we'll go with some tips and takeaways towards the end. So the first energy that is up for October is a higher understanding of your now energy. And this is really where you're having an understanding of where you cannot go back to something. I'm seeing a vision of a woman who's been traveling all summer long, and she's going back to her house after traveling, and then she realizes that this situation that she's been living in is no longer for her. In fact, she had this roommate and it was this particular living arrangement, and she just realizes this no longer works. Now, interestingly enough, in this vision I'm seeing right now, her roommate also realizes that the situation wasn't working for her either. So both women are coming to an understanding of what their current now energy is, and that there's really no going back to how it was. When you look at this for yourself and relate this to yourself, is what is your higher understanding of your now energy? What have you moved through this summer that really lets you know where your now energy is aligned? And you can ask yourself questions like, is there potentially harmony that can be had here? Are there other solutions? Is there a continuous conversation that needs to happen? Or is this truly something that has to end? For many of you, this relates to your housing, your finances, your business, or your relationships. As you start to feel into your understanding of your now energy, you can ask yourself, is this current situation in alignment with your highest timelines? Or are you having to self-sacrifice or compromise too much? In relationships with ourselves and others, there's always a place of sometimes needing to compromise or needing to align. But you can ask yourself, are you having to self-sacrifice too much or compromise too much? And if so, then how can you either have something come to an end or up level it into new potentials? So here's where knowing that this energy is present is really beneficial for you, because there is a place that you can go to with this energy to realign yourself with the higher level of potentials so that you can have the experience that you really want. With this example that I'm seeing of these 2 women coming back into this house, and they've kind of both been traveling and now they realize that cohabitating isn't what they want, you could start to go up into a higher vibration, raise your consciousness and energy to new levels of potentials. What is it that is truly aligned with your now energy? Where do you want to be? What is in resonance with you? And once you level up and align yourself with those higher energies, it's really good to look at what you'd actually prefer. And when you know what you'd actually prefer and you're in a higher level of vibrational frequency, you can start to connect with your big inspirations and that bigger version of yourself, which then allows you to let go of compromise, have compassion for what you can no longer do anymore, but it also allows for other potentials that are more aligned for your now energy to come through. So this higher understanding of your now energy is really a positive thing, although it can look like some disharmony at first. It can look like in a relationship, it can look like, oh, I don't know if we can move forward, or in a friendship situation, it can look like, gosh, I'm not sure if we can go the next mile together. Again, once you align yourself with a higher level of vibration in your now energy, oftentimes there is a new conversation to be had. There's new potentials to align to. So it's kind of especially this next week into October 6th and 7th and 8th, is really allowing yourself to come back into your own personal energy, in your own personal energetics. You might have been feeling like you're too much in other people's energy to be really clear about what your now energy is. So the more you can come back into your own energy, the more you can come back into your highest level of vibrational alignment, then the more inspired conversations you can have and the more higher aligned potentials can come in for you. Next energy up, finally moving forward in a new direction. And this actually has a timeline attached to it. So for those of you who really resonate with this part of the message, there is something that you've been working on for a while and you've been trying to get it off the ground for a while, but it is finally going to start to move forward. Now, this new direction is something that like I mentioned, it's attached to a time frame. So for many of you, this looks like 6 months or less. And what that means, especially for October, is making some steps forward in this new direction. You'll know when you hear this what that new direction is. It's something that's been calling for you for a while. It's been calling to you. And some really helpful questions to ask yourselves are, what have you known for a while that is truly for you? Conversely, you could ask, what have you known for a while is truly not for you? For example, maybe you're considering a divorce or considering a parting of ways of a friendship or a parting of ways of a business partner. So what have you known for a while that is truly for you? And what have you known for a while that's truly not for you? Ask yourself, what risks have you been wanting to take? And what actions have you been knowing that you need to take? Asking yourselves some of these questions can really help to bring this new direction in even stronger, knowing that this is not sort of an overnight thing. It's something that starts to happen in October. The timelines start to line up for you based on your new actions and your new direction that you're wanting to move into. For many of you, movement is actually happening. Part of this new direction is that you're physically being directed from one city or place or town or house to another. I also want to mention that fears can often crop up. So if you've been feeling this new direction and you know for a fact that this is something that needs or has been wanting to happen for you, it's really very common for your fears to crop up, telling you, you can't do this, don't do this now. Now is not the time. All of these fears. And so what you want to be mindful of is a couple of things. Make sure that as those fears come up, they are actually fears and not divine guidance. And how you know is you get into the highest vibrational place that you can. And in that high vibration, fear actually cannot come in. So when you're in a high vibration, you can introduce a fearful thought and you won't be afraid. So that's one way to check if it's fear or divine guidance. Fear also weakens you. So if you feel this thought of fear and you feel weak in your physical body, that's another way to know that it's actually fear. These fears are normal and they're natural because they want to keep you safe. They want to keep you kind of stuck right where you are. The brain is wired to keep you not doing much. The human brain is actually hardwired to keep you conserving your energy. However, right now, as human beings, you're evolving. Your evolution is to ascend your consciousness, and that happens by doing new things. So you can choose new potentials and use the new energy that you now have. And at the same time, it does require you to take new and different actions. And many of those new and different actions, you may have some fears around. You may think like, I'm not sure if I can do this. I don't know if it will work out. I'm not sure. what's going to be different this time. And that's so normal. And again, that's just the mind trying to keep you safe. Remembering that you are on planet Earth and there's really no such thing as true safety here. It's your level of alignment that helps to keep you on path and on plan. So I'm actually seeing a couple of different examples of this for you guys, especially around money and relationships. There's a subset of you that really knows that you need something different in your relationships. For some of you, that's actually getting together with your person. And for some of you, that's actually moving away from your person and understanding that that soul level contract is now complete and you're done with that learning. So whatever side of the energetic spectrum you are on here, just kind of knowing where you're at and then acknowledging the fear of moving into whatever that new situation is for you. The same thing with money. I'm seeing this for many of you too around money, is that there's this fear somehow that if you do this new direction that you've been thinking of doing, that somehow the money won't be there to support you. And so this is sort of a double parted structure of fear. It's like, well, if you try to do what you know you're supposed to do, then for sure you won't be supported. And again, that's just fear. That's fear trying to keep you right where you're at. It's a great time to allow yourself to dream into your new potentials. Allow yourself to imagine what it would look like for you in that new direction. Imagine things really getting off the ground in this new timeline and understanding that this is actually the time. Understanding that the energetics are here right now to support you in doing this, and that you've known that this is something you've needed to do for a while. You've been maybe resisting it or trying to not fully do it in some way or letting things get in the way to distract you. And that's okay. But recognizing that right now for the next 6 months, for some of you 3 months, is a beautiful portal of energetics that really wants to help usher you into this new timeline. So the lesson here really is to embrace where you are right now, to love yourself where you are right now fully. And in doing so, you allow yourself to vibrate higher. You allow yourself to feel and integrate more parts of you. There can be this interesting thing that happens when you know that there's something else you're supposed to do or something that's been calling for you. There can be this part of you that says, I won't be happy until I get this other thing, or until I move to this house, or till I'm with this person, or till I'm not with this person. The true lesson here is really embracing your nowness, loving your now self, and allowing that shadow aspect of you that kind of yearns for something more to be fully loved and seen and held, and allowing yourself to feel whole and complete where you are right now, so that as you move in this new direction, you don't perpetuate and create from the energy of not having enough, not being enough, not being where you want. You're not dragging that old energetic with you. Instead, you're creating from a place of wholeness, completeness, fulfillment. So your job right now is to be in wholeness and completeness now and move in this new direction. What can happen is that when we move from past hurts or a place of wanting to fix a situation, either outside of ourselves or inside of ourselves, that drags that vibration into the future. And a great example of this is, I have lived in Hawaii and I've seen people come to Hawaii feeling quite broken or incomplete or wanting to fix or heal something within themselves. And they come to paradise And then they meet themselves in paradise and they realize that they are not happy, they don't feel fulfilled, they don't have the things they want. And within about 6 months to a year, they end up moving away. That's, I think, just a great out picturing of this lesson, is to just really embrace where you are, love where you are right now, so that you can vibrate higher and integrate those parts that were working from past hurts or wanting to fix a situation, and dealing with the emotional vibration of things instead of trying to fix the physical vibration. And that's really the next energy for this month, is tuning more into the emotional vibration of things and less into the physical. As you move up into higher levels of consciousness and ways of being, the physical things in your world become vastly less important. As you start to raise your frequency, you will most likely notice that you have a release of the need for a lot of physical things. You might have always wanted a certain car or a certain house or a certain thing in your home, and you'll notice that you release any sort of notion of needing that to feel whole and complete, because you've been focused on the emotional vibration of feeling whole and complete. Do you see the difference? Now, here's the interesting paradox about focusing on the emotional vibration versus fixing the physical vibration of things. When you attend to the emotional vibration and you allow yourself to heal the shadow aspects of the self, heal the parts of the self that were wounded or unexpressed or feeling incomplete somehow, then all of a sudden the things that you thought you wanted that then you let go of actually quickly come in a wholly new and different way than you would have imagined in your mind they could come in. So for example, I'm actually seeing an image of a man who always wanted this particular type of car because he thought that driving this car would actually make him feel really strong and masculine. And instead, he focused on the emotional vibration of feeling strong and masculine. In doing so, he kind of let go of the notion of driving this particular car. And in his mind, in the past, he always thought, oh, I have to make up enough money to get this car. And he had this whole story attached to the car. And then one day, it just so happens that this car comes to him in the most magical way. He wins it as a prize for a work effort, and he freely gets this car. Yes, he has to pay a little taxes, but that's the magical way that this car comes in. And then he's driving down the road in this car. And as he's driving down the road, he can feel that he feels strong and masculine. And yet it really doesn't matter whether he has the car or not. And that's the point of this time, is to really deal with the emotional vibration. Let the physical things do what they're going to do. Allow yourself to feel how you want to feel. Many people spend lifetimes trying to rearrange the outside circumstances. You've heard it a million times. Oh, if I only could lose the weight, then I would feel. Oh, if I could only have the money, then I would feel. Oh, if I could only have the relationship, then I would feel. Those things are always secondary. You've got to actually feel the emotional vibration within yourself. And so this month of October is about relationship energy coming through and helping you rework that. But mostly it's the relationship with yourself and healing the emotional vibration, allowing yourself to feel new emotional vibrations so that you can have, if you'd like it, a different physical reality. And lastly, with working with the vibrational reality versus physical reality, this is also designed for you to get into your higher self, your divine self, embodied in form all the time. It's what we are doing on the planet right now. Yes, it might seem a little chaotic on the outside, and the work right now is to allow your divine self, your higher self, to come in more of the time, to get into alignment with the divine acting as and through you at all moments. And really understanding what happens when you do that. You can be the alchemist. That's when true alchemy happens, because you're not operating at the level of physical anymore. You're operating at the level of vibrational alignment, and you can see when something is out of vibrational alignment for you, when particular timeline or circumstance or set of circumstances is out of alignment, and you can go up into the emotional vibration of that, and you can start to make changes in your own frequency that you're holding. You can ask your higher divine self to come in and uplift you into higher levels of possibilities and potentials. And as you do that, you'll watch your outer world start to shift and change. The next energy that's up for this month, kind of piggybacking on that topic, is relationship healing through reprogramming your sense of self. There's a lot of astrological energies here to support you in relationships and healing through relationship. And one of the ways this is set up to happen is a triggering of past hurts or wounds so that you can forgive the energy of being hurt, or forgive the energy of not expressing yourself or being able to express yourself. Many of us, I would say probably almost everybody on this planet, grew up in an environment where they were hurt as kids, where they had a lot of wounding as children, where the family dynamic that they grew up in didn't allow for them to feel fully expressed, or even sometimes partially expressed. This month, as you start to move through this month, if you're being triggered in your relationships, know that this is sort of part of the plan of October, of Libra, of the masculine and feminine being more expanded, more enmeshed together, and coming into more of a higher consciousness place. And understanding that your role is to really forgive the energy of the past, forgive the energy of being hurt, and ask yourself, what would you do if you weren't operating from a place of hurt or wounding or not feeling fully expressed? Ask yourself, how would you actually respond if you had no past wounding around this? How would you actually respond if you were seeing everything and everyone through the eyes of your divine self? You can also ask yourself questions like, what family dynamics did you have to deal with as a child? And what family dynamics are you still dealing with today? And you can now reprogram them. So if you were going to reprogram a family dynamic, what would be the most divine, ideal way that you'd like to reprogram it? How would you like your response be? So for example, let's say you're having a conversation with your child and something that they say to you is really triggering for you, and you know that your response is to snap at them and be angry. And that's a family dynamic that you experienced your parents doing with you, and you are now just repeating that of the past. So from this now place in your highest divine self, ideally, how would you like to reprogram this? Would you like to reprogram yourself to take a pause, take a moment? Would you like to reprogram yourself to just say, hey, thanks so much for sharing that, and let's just pause this conversation for now and let's take a walk? How would you like to reprogram this? You can reprogram your responses at any moment in time. Maybe you're dealing with a situation with a partner or a lover or a husband or a wife where they're having conversations with you and you feel often very angry at how they're approaching things. And this is your opportunity to not repeat that program or pattern of anger, but instead program something different in yourself, reprogramming a response. Now, sometimes reprogramming does take a little bit of time. You might get some opportunities to practice this month, but this month is a beautiful time to really allow yourself to heal and uplift that old family dynamic that didn't get healed. One of the things that many of you have chosen to come and do in this lifetime is stop completely the programs of your DNA cycle, looking at your family lineage, stopping a lot of health programs, relationship programs, ways of responding programs. And this is a big part of that. And you're going to get some nice opportunities to do that this month. And ask yourself too, as a child, what parts of yourself were you not able to express? This will give you a lot of feedback and a lot of data, because now as an adult, you might over-express in a certain way because you were never able to do that as a child, or you might under-express yourself because you were never able to do that as a child. So these kinds of questions can really give you access to data and ways of responding that you are now really able and energetically supported to heal through and to reprogram through and to bring in your new sense of self that isn't coming from a place of past wounding, that is coming from a place of more wholeness and completeness and more embodiment of your divine self, walking around in physical form. And the last energy that is up for this month is choosing your experience. This is a time where there's a direct correlation between what you hear and what you discern to be true for yourself and the beliefs and thoughts that you have and accept that will play out in your reality. It's more heightened than it's ever been before. Let me give you an example of that that's playing out right now. You might find yourself feeling very particular way about global events that are going on. And when you feel that particular way about global events, you'll notice that more of those thoughts start to come into your reality. You'll start to see more things on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or whatever sort of social media platforms you're on. And you'll accept that into your thought process and it'll play out in your reality. Now, here's what's really cool about this is your inner discernment is getting stronger of what's true for you in your energy system. And here's what's really important is your energy system is different and differently attuned than other people's energy system and their levels of discernment. So the more clear you are in your energy system, meaning the cleaner food you eat, the clearer water that you drink, the less media you consume, the less static interference from outside sources, the clearer your inner discernment will be. Alternatively, the more fake kind of food products you're eating and the more media you're consuming, those things, drugs that you're using, or those things start to clog the channel and act as static in the channel. And so you might very well feel like your discernment is great. And it is because you've got a really clear channel and you're looking at somebody else and you're thinking, how in the world can they be discerning something so different for themselves as truth? And that just might be because they don't have the same type of connection that you do. Now, here's what's really important is that we're coming to a time when you are more multidimensional than you've ever been before. So imagine in your mind that you are looking at a diamond and you look at it from one direction and you can see certain facets of that diamond. Once you spin the diamond, maybe to the complete opposite side, you'll see different facets, different aspects of that same diamond. Same thing goes for if you were looking out your window across the street, you're going to see reality a very specific way. And if you walked across the street and looked back at your window, you'll see things very differently. So coming to this understanding right now more than ever that your current viewpoint of the world is from your current perspective. And that just because somebody else has a different perspective doesn't mean their perspective is wrong. It just means it doesn't happen to agree with your current viewpoint of the perspective. What happens is when you pull up higher into a higher level of consciousness, you can see even more perspectives and you understand that we're all hopefully learning something from each level of perspective. But the more open you get your system to allow your own inner discernment of what is right for you and not make other people wrong or bad or shame or blame someone for their current level of discernment, that's when the magic really starts to happen. Understanding that our beliefs and our thoughts absolutely are playing out in our reality even faster than they ever have before. There's been a timeline, sort of a quickening. So if you're having a certain belief about something, it might come through your experience very swiftly. And know that at any moment in time, if you're not caring for something, if you're not preferring something, you can change your perception, you can change your belief, and you can change your thoughts about that situation so that you can have a different experience with whatever it might be. The most important aspect of this choosing your experience during this time is to choose an experience that feels aligned for you, and really bearing in mind that when you have an experience that the more you damn someone else or blame someone else or judge someone else, the more you actually keep them locked into their current level of perspective. So if you're seeing people in your life or you're having friends or family in your life that you don't care for their perspective or that it bothers you in some way, the more you judge them or damn them or shame them, not even outwardly, I'm just talking about within your own thoughts and feelings about them, the more it locks them into being there, the more resistance in the field, in their own energy system it creates, because they can feel they're not unconditionally loved and they can feel that somebody wants them to change and be different. And with my work in energy work, I've seen that most people will not make an outward change if the energetics is pushing them to do something different. Specifically, family members or friends, if they're feeling energetically pushed, most people on the planet right now will push back against that energetic. I hope that makes sense, but to tie it together, the more you can love somebody as they are, the more you can offer up unconditional love for someone, even when they're behaving badly, even when you don't agree with their behavior, you are allowing yourself to not only choose your experience, but you're allowing the energy to be uplifted into a higher frequency. You're not transgressing on free will. You're simply holding out an energetic hand to say, hey, I love you unconditionally. I see you as divine light. And then the person who might be acting in a way that you don't prefer can take that energetic handhold or upliftment, and it's up to them if they do so. Seeing people in this way as a piece of the divine, in the divine light, loving them unconditionally is one of the most fastest, quickest, most amazing ways that you can help an energy to shift. And it will also keep you really uplifted. Many of you have been noticing that your energy starts to plummet the more you go on social media or the more you watch the news or certain things. And the reason for that is because there is an inherent layer of judgment and not allowing people to hold a different belief or way of being. And that sets up a very low frequency, and you're going to just feel that when you go online or when you go into a whatever platform it is. So the more you can see that and just offer it unconditional love, the better off you will be. Let's talk about some tips and takeaways now for this next month. October is the month of a lot of relationship energy. And so a tip and takeaway is to really look at your relationships and ask, how can we both expand into a higher level of consciousness here? How can I maintain a higher level of consciousness even if this person over here isn't at this time? How can we have the highest outcomes for us both? And what is it that you specifically would prefer? Another tip and takeaway for October is to really know and be solid on what is that new direction that you want to move into. Take the time over the next week or so to think about what have you been working for a while. And something I've been asking clients this last week is, what dreams did you have that are no longer in resonance with you? What did you once vision for yourself that now kind of seems like, that's the distant past and it doesn't even feel like you anymore? It's really great to check in with the dreams you've always had because you've done so much soul growth and expansion over this last few years specifically that those things that you may have wanted for yourself at one time were likely born in a place of lack and ego and of not having. Now, some of them are soul desires, so it's just important to check in and make sure that you are on now your highest path. And lastly, any place where you are ready to reprogram or rework yourself, or even flipping the script on something. You might think about, well, I need to change this in my physical environment. Flipping the script on yourself and saying, let me attend to the vibration within myself first. It's a great time to flip the script. Let yourself feel the feelings now. Let yourself feel the safety now. Let yourself feel the love now. Let yourself align to the higher vibrations now. And then watch the outer world shift. And lastly, I want to leave you with this. October is a month of a lot of energies coming through, propelling you forward. And in November, we've got even more energies coming through. What I want to say about this time is you might be feeling more of the collective than ever before. You might be feeling more heart pain or more anxiety. I've been hearing from many of you that it's a lot of tough and intense emotions. Some of this is showing up physically in your physical body as sensation, and sometimes it's just emotion. So the difference between that would be I'm having anxiety versus my body feels like it's vibrating. So you can have one or both, physical sensation or an emotion. Here's something that is really helpful to remember as you move through these next few months. Understand that you're feeling more of the collective energy than ever before, and get back into a higher, more aligned place for yourself on a more consistent and regular basis. A practice that I typically walk clients through is aligning with your divine self coming to you and through you, embodied as you at all times, and you holding more of that consciousness. When you hold more of that divine consciousness coming to you and through you, divine as you will have a natural lightness of being. You'll have a more fluffy heart, a more expanded auric field, and you'll be able to have a different response to energies coming to you from the outer world. And you'll be able to re-know it, re-see it, and re-feel it in a different way. So for example, maybe you're walking down the street and you see somebody behaving really badly. It may very well impact you in a moment, and you can feel that feeling. And then what you can do is you can ask your divine self to uplift you into a higher frequency of light, simply by saying, I now ask my divine self to uplift me into a higher frequency of light, and notice the energetic shift in your body. You can even say something to yourself like, I know I am divine in truth. I am divine presence here right now. As you say these words and run them through your system, you should feel a shift in your energy body. Whatever it is that you're looking at, or whatever it is that you're feeling that's causing this feeling in you, you can simply re-notice it and re-acknowledge it without needing it to change in any way, but to simply just say, I know you are the divine. I know you are an expression of the divine. You're not overriding free will. You are simply impressing your consciousness onto the physical reality, again, like a handhold, and allowing that energy to shift if it's ready to. This simple practice is a practice that you can get into with almost anything. You can do it while driving. You can do it while walking. You can do it while going to school to pick up your kids. You can do it while on a Zoom meeting. You can do it anywhere. It does take a higher level of conscious attention and running a frequency of divine consciousness as and through you at all times. And it takes practice. But when you practice this, you will notice that your vibration feels uplifted, and you may even notice that the people and circumstances around you start to shift. Okay, my friends, well, I hope you found this video helpful. Please like this video, share it with your friends, tag us in a comment, and I am so grateful and thankful for your presence on this planet. It means a lot that you are here doing the work, holding a different frequency, holding a different divine vibration, even on the hard days. It's making a difference. So I personally want to thank you, and I love you, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.